Hey guys, welcome again to the Maths Club. If you're just joining us, welcome. So for some time, we've been on number basis, converting from one number base to another, carrying out basic operations like addition. That's what we have been doing so far. We're also going to extend it to multiplication, subtraction, and division. Now, in the last video, we talked about adding a basis less than 10, right? So especially when they are of the same base, where you're saying base 2, base 2, base 5, base 5, base 5, base 8, base 8, base 8, and we did the normal way of adding, right? And I also told you that there was another way of adding when you convert to base 10. Then the value that you get when you convert to base 10, you now add them, and then you now convert it back to the original base. So I'm just going to briefly touch on that other method, right, for the sake of so that you can be able to decide on which one you want to do best. So I'm going to actually choose one of the added questions in this place. No, let me choose this one. Also, I'll choose this one. This 1101 in base 2 plus 1011 in base 2 to actually explain what I'm talking about. So we already know our answer, but let's go. So if I move this up, so I said 01 in base 2 plus 1011 in base 2. So I will call this the method 2. Method 2. Okay, so step 1 is to convert. So I'll convert each of them to base 10. That's the first step. So let's do that. I mean, we've been so you want to pause the video to actually convert this one and this one to base 10. Welcome back. So let's convert 1101 in base 2. So that will be 1 times 2, right? Plus 1 times 2 plus 0 times 2 plus 1 times 2, right? And like we said, we multiply by the base, then from the right to the left to give it the power starting from 0, Abi. So this 0, 1, 2, 3, Abi. So this is 1 times 8, 2 raised to the power 3 is 8, plus 1 times 3 raised to the power 2 is 4. That is 2 times 2, 4. Plus, I told anything that multiplies 0, you can just put 0 without disturbing yourself. Plus 1 times 2 raised to the power, anything raised to the power 0 is what? Is 1. Great. So 1 times 8 is 8. Plus 1 times 4 is 4, plus 0 plus 1 times 1 is 1. And this is going to give you what? 13, right? Because 8 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 13. So if you got that correctly, you can clap for yourself. Right? So in the second one, right, so that is the first value. So the second value is 1011 in base 2. So the same method, right? So I'll just go over it. Okay, so this is 0 times 2 plus 1 times 2 plus 1 times 2, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So you can see that at first I wanted to start with that very example that was a little bit hard, right? But you see that me trying to convert that one to base 10 first and converting it will be a whole lot, right? So sometimes that's where all of these things come in. You must know which method to actually use. And like I said, I would recommend you to always use the normal way of adding, right? Not this method, if they are all of the same base. So 1 times 8 is 8 plus anything 0 is 0. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 times 1 is 1, right? And this gives me 11 in base 2. Sorry, 11 in base 10. Great. So we are good to go. So we know that this value here is 13 in base 10, and this value here is what? 11 in base 10. Right, so let me add the two of them. So the step 2 is basically just to add, right? So step 2, add both values. So that will be 11 plus 13, and that is equal to 24 in base 10. But remember, the value that we are going to give is not going to be in base 10. It's going to be in the original base that they were in, which is base 2. So I have to convert this value to base 2. So let's do that. So then number 3, step 3 is convert to the original base. Right. So let's convert this to the original base. So we have 24. We want to convert it to base 2. So we'll divide it by 2 first. 24 into 2 is 12, remainder 0. 2 in 12 is 6, remainder 0. 2 in 6 is 3, remainder 0. 2 in 3 is 1, remainder 0. Remainder 1. Thank you very much. Remainder 1, right? So 2 in 1 is 0, remainder 1. So if any of this is actually looking unfamiliar to you, right, these are things that we've done in the past. So we want to check our playlists on number bases, right? So if I put it from bottom to top, that means our value will be 11,000 in base 2. And if you see, that is the same answer that we had here. So we had 11,000 in base 2, which is basically the same answer, right, that we had. So we've done this with 2 different steps, right? And you can see for this particular step, see that there's a lot of conversion, where we could have just done it at a go, right, like we did in the prior video. So you can choose whichever one you like best, but both method actually works, right? So let's continue. I said something that there will be times where you'll be given different bases. So look at this example. So in this question, we're told that if y is equal to 23 base 5 plus 101 in base 3, right, find y, leaving your answer in base 2, right? I told you that whenever you're given in different bases, this is where converting to base 10 for each of the values would actually serve you best, right? So we're going to convert this value to base 10. We're going to convert this value to base 10, and we're going to add both values. Then when we add both values, now convert the answer to base 2, right? I'll encourage you to actually pause the video and try it out yourself. Welcome back. So let's see. 23 base 5 plus 101 base 3. So let's go. It's very similar to the example that we solved before. So 23 base 5, right? So that would be, I'll convert it to base 10, right? Let me put it in steps. So to base 10. To base 10, right? That would be 2 times 5 plus 3 times 5, right? So, then the power 0 and 1, right? So that would be 2 times 5 raised to power 1 is 5. So 2 is 2 times 5 plus 3 times 5 raised to power 0 is, anything raised to power 0 is what? Is 1. Great. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3 times 1 is 3. So this value is what? Is 13 in base 10. Great. Now the other value is 101 in base 3. So let's go. If I move this down, normally it's actually a trap question, because when you see 101, you always think that it's base 2, right? So you must always be careful not to assume, right? So this 101 in base 3. So converting it to base 10, right? So that would be 1 times 3 plus 0 times 3 plus 1 times 3, right? So give it the power 0, 1, 2, right? So 1 times 3 squared is going to be 9. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. So I don't need to bother myself. I don't say plus 0 plus 1 times anything raised to power 0 is what? Is 1. Great. So 1 times 9 is 9 plus 0 plus 1 times 1 is going to be 1, right? So this value here is what? Is 10 in base 10. 10 over 10. So now we can now do what? Let's see. The question says that we should add both of them together, right? So now I can add. Since they all share a common base, right? I will add. So let me see. So adding both values. So that would be 10 plus, I think that was 13, if my memory serves me right. 13, great. So 10 plus 13, that is equal to 23 in base 10, right? Now the sum should make the value to be in base 2, right? I think that's what the question says. Leave your answer in base 2. So that means I have to now do a long division and divide it by 2 in different stages, right? So converting to base 2. So to base 2. Let's go. Great. So 23, right? 23 divided by 2 is going to be 1. 2 in 2 is 1. 2 in 3 is 1. Remainder what? Remainder 1, right? 2 in 11 is 5, right? Because 2 times 5 is 10. That will be a remainder of what? Remainder of 1, right? So 2 in 5 is 2 with a remainder of 1. 2 in 2 is 1 with a remainder of 0, right? 2 in 1 is 0 with a remainder of, remember, just bring this one down here, 1, like we've been doing in previous videos. So we'll take it from the bottom to the top, right? So that means this value is what? 1 0 1 1 1 in base 2. And that is our final answer. Let's see if we got it right. So our answer was 1 0 1 1 1 in base 2. Can you guess what the option is? Option B. Great. So our answer is B. That's how we actually add in B. So when you have different bases, that is where converting to base 10 and then adding in base 10 and dividing to whatever base they tell you to do would actually come in. Like I said, this is actually a trick question because you would assume that this 101 is in base 2. So always be very careful. Now, since we got this right, let's mark ourselves. Right, so we did very well, right? We did very well. If you got it, well done. If you did not get it, take note of where you missed, right? That's all. So let's end it with this last question. This last question is taken from WAEC, right? June 2020. So it says, if 101 in base 2 plus 12 in base y, so you can see now in this case here, you are having bases as base y, right? I mean, you're having a base y. A base y is an unknown base, right? So they're telling you that if they add 101 in base 2 plus 12 in base y, you are going to get 23 in base 5. So you can see different bases. What's the first thing that we're going to do? Definitely, we're going to convert each of them to base 10 so that we can be able to compare. I mean, you have to compare orange with orange. You cannot compare orange with apple, right? So you have to compare orange with orange. So let's convert each of them to base 10. Right. So the question is 101 in base 2 plus 12 in base y is equal to 23 in base 5. So let's convert each of them. So 101 base 2 to base 10, right? So that will be 1 times 2 plus 0 times 2 plus 1 times 2, right? And give the power 0, 1, 2, right? This is like a revision of what we've been doing. So 1 times 2 squared is going to be 1 times 4 plus anything multiplied by 0 is 0 plus 1 times 2 raised to the power 0. 2 raised to the power 0 is 1, so 1 times 1, right? So 1 times 4 is 4 plus 0 plus 1, and this is going to give us 5. So this is 5 in base 10, right? Now, so you can try your hands on 12 in base y. Let's see. Welcome back. So 12 in base y to base 10. Right, so that will be basically see the same thing. 1 times y plus 2 times y. Right? So for each of them, they will give it the power. So this is power 0 and base 1, right? So 1 times y raised to the power 1 is going to be y plus 2 times y raised to the power 0. Anything raised to the power 0 is going to be 1, right? So we can simplify. This will be 1 times y. 1 times y is going to be y plus 2 times 1 is going to be 2, right? So this is the value in base 10. Great. So we've converted the second one to base 10. Let's convert this last part to base 10. 23 base 5. So this 23 base 5 to base 10, right? So that will be 2 times 5 plus 3 times 5, right? And they will give it power. So this is 0 and this is 1, right? So this is 2 times 5 raised to the power 1 is 5 plus 3 times anything raised to the power 0 is what? Is 1. Great. So 2 times 5 is 10 plus 3 times 1 is 3. So by the time I add both of them, this will give me 13 in base 10. So now that we have all of them in base 10, we can be able to now compare, right? So this 101 base 2, I'll replace it with 5. 12 in base y, I'll replace it with this. And 23 in base 5, I'll replace it with the answer. So let's say, so replacing, right? That will be 5 plus y plus 2, because there is addition that is joining two of them. So 5 plus y plus 2, 5 plus y plus 2 will now be equal to whatever 23 base 5 was, which is what? 13. Great, 13. So let's add. Let's call it like terms. 5 plus 2 is 7. So that's like saying y plus 7, Abby, is equal to 13. Right? So I can just carry over this plus 7 to the other side. When you carry over plus to the other side, it becomes what? It becomes minus. Great. So that will be y is equal to 13 minus 7, right? Therefore, y is equal to 13 minus 7 is what? 6. So that means, therefore, the y that they told us to find is what? Is 6. Let's see. Let's see if we're correct. That is option C. Great. And we got it. So how do we do? Whenever you're having things in different bases, just convert each of them to base 10. The more you practice with this, the faster it becomes. So yeah, I was a bit slow because I was trying to break down the steps and everything. But I mean, the more you practice these things, the faster your solution will be. This is an objective question. So you're not meant to like show different steps. You're meant to just really solve fast and get your answer. Right? So we converted this one to base 10, this one to base 10, and this one to base 10. Then since they were all on the same basis, we now replaced each of them with the base 10s, right? And that's what we did. We replaced each of them with the base 10s. 5, this y plus 2 came from the 12 base y, right? And then this 23 base 5 in base 10 was 13. So I added the base 10, and then I got my y to be 5, right? So we're able to find the value of y to be 6. And that's how you add or you carry out complex calculations or questions involving number bases with different bases. It could be an unknown base, it could be, but for now we'll be dealing with bases that are unknown and the bases that are less than 10. So the next time that we come, we're actually going to briefly touch on what if a base is greater than 10, right? And you're told to add, let's say you're given a base 13 plus base 13 or base plus base 15. How are you going to do it? Right? So see you guys in the next video. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel so that you will be up to date, and then comment if you have any question or need any clarification on anything. See you guys in the next video.